Describe task analysis. Breaks down task into component parts. How are task analysis done? Determine what your starting point will be. Depends on the learner and skill level. Determines the necessary materials to complete task. Determine each of the component steps. Watch another do the task. Do the task yourself. How many steps should be in a task analysis? It depends on the learner. Least prompt assessments. Determine levels of assistance. Least invasive to most. Verbal, gestural, model, physical. Instructed learner to complete the task should be about 2 to 3 seconds. Wait the predetermined latency. If child doesn't complete the step with the interval, move to the next step in the sequence and then repeat. Give instructions to complete the task. Wait the predetermined latency for the learner to initiate the first step of the task. Once the first task is completed, wait the latency for the learner to complete the second task. If at any point the learner does not initiate the step within the allowed time frame, task is determined. All sequence steps are considered incorrect. Reposition probe. Instruct learner to complete the task. Wait latency for each step. Done correctly, mark and move to the next step. If incorrectly, do that step for the child or skip it. Preference assessment presentation. If you don't have a reinforcer, you don't have a lesson. That's why it's important to determine reinforcers when teaching. A positive reinforces increases behavior. A negative reinforcement decreases behavior. Escape, avoidance. Positive punishment, add to the environment, behavior decreases. Negative punishment, taken away from the environment, behavior decreases. If we give kids positive things, their behavior will increase. True. We reinforce behavior, not students. What are the types of reinforcers? Primary, secondary, conditioned, paired, generalization. Edibles are considered food. What does that mean? Define tangible reinforcers, books and toys. Activity reinforcers have the same property as tangibles. Asocial reinforcers such as attention, and praise, because it is praise with the human. Define automatic reinforcers, like running, it's internal. Things are typically work as good reinforcers. What is reinforcer inventory? Stimuli, preference, assessment. Why do reinforcer inventory? Use as many times as reinforcers diminishes. What is define citation and should be avoided? If it doesn't change the behavior, it is not a reinforcer. If a human plays with an item too many times, it's satiation. That's why you need to have many reinforcers so this does not happen. What are some general things to keep in mind when doing a stimulus preference assessment? Do it often. Look for a variety of reinforcers, not just one. Be creative. Look for reinforcers with different strengths. What are the advantages and disadvantages of using checklists and forms? Describe the findings of PREMAC. High probability that behaviors are reinforcers. What are other forms of preference assessment? Single stimulus, individual presented, one item at a time. Paired stimulus, individuals giving 2 items and they choose. Multiple stimulus is without replacement. Few items are placed in front of the individual. When they choose them, they can play. Free operand lets the items of individuals play with that item the entire time. Which preference assessment is the best to use? Paired stimulus method. Multiple stimulus is good for determining developmental disabilities and general education. Single stimulus is best for individuals difficult scanning, increase the probability of responding. The most preferred item is not a reinforcer unless it increases the probability of responding. What are 2 reasons to redo your preference assessment? Back and do assessments again. Historical background of functional analysis. Skinner, the environment determines how we behave. Early assessments of antecedents and consequences. Visual, Pearson, and Audit in 1968, ABC analysts. Scatter plots of time and activities could trigger behavior. Arbitrary reinforcers are still being used. Time of adverse control. Most articles were being telegraph-based. Ted Carr in 1977, Can We Identify Specific Reinforcers for Self-Injury? Brian Autet, First Assessments of a Function. For common functions, pure adult attention, social positive reinforcement, escape or avoidance of unpleasant events, negative reinforcement, sensory consequences, automatic reinforcement, access to items, tangible positive reinforcement, communication hypothesis, 1985 Carr, individuals engage in problem behavior to communicate the things they don't have words to say at the time. Problem behavior that looks very similar can serve different functions. When is functional analysis typically used? Other analysts uninterpreted. The problem behavior seems to stem from automatic reinforcement when the treatments aren't working. Functional analysis, 1982, directly manipulates the environment. How is it done? Brian Autet, to determine the functions of behavior. How is it done? The client is exposed to a series of conditions for 10 to 15 minutes, and hypotheses are tested. Conditions: escape. If we give individual a task, will their response increase? Materials. If we restrict a preferred item, will the responding increase? Attention. If we revert our attention and pay attention, will their responding increase? Control play. Free items, no demands. Problem behaviors should not occur. Alone. Individuals, no materials, attention, or play will increase. The conditions with the highest rating of responding are the function. Does function analysis teach problem behavior? Only if assessment function goes too long. Brief function analysis is used. Created by Northup in 1991. Procedures in brief functional analysis can be completed in 90 minutes. Each test condition can last 5 minutes. Alternative with the control correction. It's not as though as full functional analysis. When descriptive methods are not possible or when FA is impossible to do. Trial-based function analysis used in the natural environment with the contents of tasks. Trial-based function analysis procedures: escape, complete trail, attention, therapists provide attention, materials presented to individuals, control, no demands. Structural analysis measures reinforcers is held constant, but antecedents are manipulated. Created by Janie Strachan and colleagues. Always escape for all conditions. The conditions with the highest probable behavior is the antecedent of the problem.